Hi guys, I'm Kanda. I'm gonna show you guys these new parent notes that we're gonna start using. And some of them look familiar in some sections and other sections are new. So I'm just gonna walk through them and tell you guys why we changed them and how we want them used. So let me pull up the infant one. Okay, so here's the infant parent note we're going to use. The top looks similar to what you guys already have. This is for daycare 5 only. So if you don't work at daycare 5 though, I'm hoping that you'll watch through this one just because some things carry over. So I won't need to repeat some things. So with dirty diapers, that one's it's the same as what you do now. So you put an X at the time of the dirty diaper. You don't need to put the specific time. So if it was at 8:30, you can put an X between 8 and 9 and that's fine. Make sure that we're wiping butts. We put out a parent survey in December and we got some feedback that butts weren't being wiped, communication was lacking, and hold on, there were a couple, personal items like hats, mittens, those kind of things were not being sent home with the right kids. And the last thing was that staff wasn't on time to work. So they weren't there at 7:30 ready to open the daycares. So we really need to work on those 4 things. So please make sure you're wiping babies' butts. We don't go around with poop in our butts. And so the babies also should not go around with poop in their butts. Okay, nap times. So the same as what you do now. X starts the nap, an O ends the nap. If you put the baby down at noon, just make sure you're not putting an X at noon because you put them back there. Like make sure that you put the time that they fell asleep. Parents need to know that, especially with these younger babies. Bottles, I think we need to make a change here. I don't think we're putting the start time exactly on the parent notes now, but we need to do that on these. So if you're feeding a baby at 8:15, that X needs to be, you need to make sure that you write 15. So 8:15 and then how much they took, not just an X somewhere between 8 and 9. It needs to be more specific. When you're feeding an infant, there's a big difference between 8:10 and 8:50. So parents need to know exactly when that bottle started. Okay, moving on to baby food. I think you guys already do this. The big difference here is we're not writing what was eaten. I'll have to check with Janelle about what she wants to do with new babies who are just starting to eat and are eating just a few things. But I think we're going to stick with this one for now and see how it goes. So you're going to circle fruit, veg, cereal, ate well, just a little, or not present. The menus, please make sure they're posted and updated daily outside the door so parents can get used to reading those versus relying on the parent note. Table food is next, same as what we've been doing. If the baby eats table food, ate well, just a little, not present. Tummy time is not an option. So if a baby is not rolling or is new to rolling, they need to have tummy time in the AM and the PM. Even if they roll themselves out of it, you just put them back in, do this for maybe 5 minutes, and then let them go on about their day. Little babies need to have a good tummy time, 5 to 10 minutes in the AM and the PM. And we need to be making sure, 1, that an adult is with them, obviously, and 2, the guidelines have changed a little bit. So you'll put the babies down on the tummy time mat, and then that mat needs to be wiped after every single tummy time with the soapy water spray. So even if you have 3 babies who did tummy time and then another baby wakes up, don't throw them down on that same mat. Wipe it up first from the first 3 babies, put the next baby, let it dry, put the next baby down, wipe it up after that. We need to be really diligent about that. So that's tummy time. Outside time, just if you go out. Items to go home. So we really need to focus on the items that the kid walks in with. So if they walk in and they've got pink socks, or they're carried in this case, and they have pink socks, then you need to write pink socks. Obviously, socks are horrible on babies, and so they fall off all the time. But we need to be sending home the kids' things that are theirs, not other kids' things. So make sure you write down whatever they come in with. If we need to send home bibs or extras or whatever, then you need to write down that they have a bag of dirties. Go to wherever you put your dirty bags and get that for them when they're picked up. So please start to be diligent about that. And then whatever needs they have, so diapers, wipes, whatever. Injuries and important notes, that's more like if a parent comes in and says they need Tylenol because they're teething, you can put they had Tylenol at 9 o'clock or whatever. Important notes, or sorry, injuries, we still need to use the same thing that we do now for letting Janelle know, like, for example, the only injury I can think of at the baby house is like if they get bitten. Obviously, you don't want to write was bitten by a friend on their parent note, and that's all the communication the parent gets, and then they come and they have a huge bite mark on their arm. So we still need to be texting Janelle for injuries, so that she can get in contact with the parents if needed. If not, we can just, if it's a little scratch, they bumped their knee, they hit their head and cried for a minute and then they were fine, then okay, we can write it there, and that it doesn't really need to go further. But if it needs to go to Janelle, they have a big goose egg or a big bite mark, whatever, it still needs to go through Janelle and be written on here. Okay, so the big change is the ed time. So Daycare 5 has had an ed time folder in the past. I'm not sure if you still have that. You guys will have to let me know / come up with an ed time, but we're gonna work on not a menu, a calendar for daycares 5, 3, and 6 for ed time. So those things are coming, but in the meantime, the daily focus should be something like bubbles or sensory bottles or something that you worked on if it was the baby was working on sitting independently or rolling over. Those, spend the time to work with them, 5 to 10 minutes working with them on that, and then put that as their daily focus. And then daily stations can be whatever else you guys play with. So if it's blocks, see-throughs, little people, whatever it is throughout the day, the toys that you guys have out. Used to, the parents would walk in, they see the babies playing, they see the kind of things you have out, and so that's comforting to them. Now they can't come in the daycare. So we really need to be diligent about letting them know like what their baby has done today. And then book. This cannot be empty. We tried to put the least amount of fill-in items on parent notes across the board just because it's hard to fill in, and we know that. So, but we need to read a book to these kids every day. They need to be hearing at least one book, not just the big kids that can walk over to you, but all the kids. So make sure that you make a time to read a book. And then down below about my day. So for infants, I tried to go in age order. So interacted positively with adults. That's like a little baby who's going to be in the swing. You're going to like talk to them and look at them and play with them. And that's going to be a positive interaction for them. They might not smile yet. They might not look around yet. They may just be a baby and sleep all day. So that's fine to just have one check on their page. Please do not check things that they didn't do. So if this is a 2-month-old, you're not going to check lots of smiles and laughs because a 2-month-old can't smile and laugh yet. So make sure you're paying attention to those kind of things. And then it kind of just goes in order. So happy to observe friends. That's a little bit older baby. Lots of smiles and laughs, a little bit older. Happy to play independently. This is like a baby who is rolling and sitting and just kind of exploring their world. They're going to be happy to just hang out. And then the next one's going to be your guys' older babies who are participating in stations and ed time and interacting with the adults and doing all the things. So as they get older, they should have more checks on their parent note. And then the last one, it was kind of a struggle because parents need to know if their kids are fussy. However, We have sometimes where staff come in from 3 to 5, and maybe that's a baby's fussy time. So maybe they had a perfect morning, and then a staff comes in at 3 and checks that they're fussy. So we split it into AM and PM. I want you guys to be really thoughtful when you're looking at these things. The only example I can think of is that Ainsley had a very fussy week last week or a couple weeks ago. So her mom needed to know that, and maybe she pulled on her ear. Then you can put a little note down below that says like pulling on ears, or hands are in mouth, or whatever. Like if you think they were just sleepy or whatever, you can put a little note like that. But otherwise, we need to make sure that we're being careful with those, because I don't want it to be like the baby cries for 10 minutes and then they were more fussy than usual in the PM. So just make sure you're using good judgment for those. And if you are a staff who comes in late and the baby seems fussy, you can say like, have they seemed this fussy today? This doesn't seem usual for them. So communicate with your coworkers too, and then use those two if you need to. Obviously use them if you need to, because parents do need to know. But you can also, anything else you guys need to write. We took away staff comments because sometimes there wasn't much to say, or staff would just write cute shirt or whatever. And that's really a pointless comment. So if you have anything else to say, the kid did something very funny, they said something funny, they, whatever it is, you can always use the back to write any other notes that you need. Let's see. I think that might be all. We need to make sure that we're keeping parent notes up to date. So if a parent comes at noon, their parent sheet is up to date. I worked at daycare 3 when it was the old daycare 5, and we did this every day, no matter what. So I know that it can be done. I know that it probably is not done. So I really want you guys to work hard on, if you change a poopy diaper, you change the diaper, you go put it in the trash, you wash your hands, you write it on the parent note, you get the next kid for diaper. If you feed a bottle, you warm the bottle up, you feed the baby, you write it on the bottle board, you write it on the daily log, you write it on the parent note. It just goes in the order. So please add these in to the steps that you do for each thing. So that we can keep these up to date. I think they'll be easier to keep up to date. Okay, so that's infants. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. We'll be in touch about the daily focus with the ed time and all of that. Okay, let's move on to young toddler. Okay, so the focus here changes a little bit to, I hope you guys are seeing this. It does say I'm screen sharing, so I think we should be okay. Okay, so the focus here changes to potty training. So it's the same at the top as it was before, if you guys knew that parent note. Everything has a symbol. So if the kid was dry and peed in the potty, then you would put the, I think that, is that a money sign? I think you put a money sign. Is it an S? No, it's money sign. What's happening? Yeah. Yeah, okay. And then on and on. You guys can tell what this is, right? So there is a potty sheet that we need to start sending home with parents. I'll be in touch about that. I'll also be in touch about more about ed time. So this parent note is for daycare 3 and daycare 6. Daycare 3, I know you guys have an ed time activity folder, so go ahead and start with that. Daycare 6, I'm not quite sure what your ed time looks like since Emily left, so I will get with someone there about that and we'll come up with a plan. Okay, so parents still need to know more about naps. But there's only one nap a day, so that's why the timing looks different. But start time of nap and end time of nap. Same with the meals. Make sure that your menu's updated and posted. And then outside time. Same thing with items to go home. So we need to be diligent about hats and gloves staying with the same kids. We need to be diligent about socks staying with the same kids, shoes staying with the same kids. They really shouldn't be bringing toys or anything like that because of COVID, but please make sure to keep extras with the same kid. It's just gross when you go and your kid has someone else's bib on, or I guess this isn't a bib daycare. They have someone else's sock on, like it's just gross. So make sure you're keeping the same items with the same kid. And then needs, obviously, if you need, I don't know, winter extras or whatever you need. Undies, this is a potty training daycare. And then injuries and important notes are the same. If there's meds, if there's, they got a scratch, they ran into the table and bumped their arm and cried for a minute, but iced it, all those things can go underneath that. Same idea on the daily focus. I know that at daycare 3, they have like baby races, or, oh goodness, there was like a cooking class thing, or washing dishes, or I don't know, we made a whole thing. So that is what will go in the daily focus. Then your daily stations are going to be like your Janelle stations. So kitchen and little people, I don't know, what do these kids play with? Legos, whatever they play with. So those are like your stations throughout the day, just so parents have a better idea of what the heck their kid was doing all day. And then a book. Again, this is non-negotiable. You have to read a book to these kids, at least one every single day. So gather them all up, which brings me to the next thing, and that's circle time. I know at daycare 3, we talked about with ed time, gathering all together. It's really difficult for kids once they get to daycare 2 to sit nicely with friends. So we need to be working on this at a young age. So the person who's completing the ed time needs to have the book and the songs ready, and whatever else you're gonna do, talk about the weather, whatever it is. And then the other 2 staff people need to be helping with the crowd. So if someone's talking, they need to be saying, hey, you're not allowed to talk right now. This is circle time, whatever. So daycare 3 should be implementing this. If you're not, let's restart. Daycare 6, you need to be implementing this. So gather together in the morning when it's your ed time, sing the ABCs, count to 10, read a book, talk about the weather, and then go to whatever your ed times play thing is, or to your stations, however you want to do that. So I'll be, again, in touch more about this as we look through ed time, but that's kind of the idea for that. Now this part right here where it says circle time 10 minutes, that's where you're going to check during this time, were they excited, engaged, and participated? Were they kind of reserved and observing others? Did they follow instructions well, or did they need listening reminders? If you have to tell a 1-year-old to listen, like, I don't know, 3 times, I don't feel like that's so distracting. If this were a 4-year-old, that would be very distracting. So keep in mind that these kids are super duper young. So if you have to readjust them 2 times during circle time in 10 minutes, that's okay. This really is like a kid's off the wall. He's running around, you know, he's hard to control. Then we need listening reminders. If you're just saying, shh, listen, then that's just that we need to work with them on circle time, and we haven't done that. So make sure that you're using good judgment for those kind of things. And then group play, this is more like during your station. So during the rest of your day, did the kid mostly play independently? Did they play with friends? This is important to look, kind of like what I was saying at daycare 5, when you look at their development. So if a kid's 1, they're not necessarily going to play with friends just in development. So they might not be ready for that. They only do parallel play at that age. So played independently might be checked every single day for the whole entire time they're at daycare 3, and that is okay. And we can remind parents of that too if they get upset about that. I've also reminded them of all these things I'm telling you guys. So you may never have played with friends, and that's okay. But what you can do as a staff person is say, hey, I want you guys to come over here and let's talk about what fruits are or what vegetables are. Can you put the fruits in this bowl? Can you put the fruits? And so you can kind of encourage, like, we can play together here. Those kind of things. Okay. Needed reminders to play cooperatively. I think parents want to know this, but I think we need to be very careful about these because parents don't want to hear that their kids are having a terrible day if they needed one reminder to play cooperatively. So I want you to use really good judgment on these. Same as keeping hands and feet to myself. Also, if you have a kid who's kind of has trouble with that and they have a good day, but they still needed maybe 4 or 5 reminders, but it was better than what they usually are, don't check that they needed reminders. So just really think about the kid and how they are and who they are, and really try to give the parents a good picture of their whole day, not just a 5-minute segment. Okay, so that's young toddler. I think I said everything. I'm like also kind of out of breath. Sorry guys, I'm ginormously pregnant. Oh, another thing the parents said was that they don't like it when there's a staff in the morning and a staff in the afternoon, and the afternoon staff has no clue what happened in the morning. So we need to be communicating about kids' days. If everything was status quo, nothing went wild, okay, fine. You don't really need to like report off for your shift. But if there was anything to say, or you know, you did an activity and they loved it, go ahead and pass that along to the afternoon staff so that we can keep parents more in the loop about their kids' day. Okay, this is daycare 2's parent note. So a little bit less about bathroom time, a little bit less about afternoon nap, just saying yes or no they took a nap, yes or no they pooped in the morning or the PM. And then same thing with the menu, make sure it's updated daily, and parents are going to have to get used to looking at that. Same thing with items that need to go home and needs, just making sure you're keeping each kid's items with them. The guidelines have changed, so all extras that are dirty or soiled need to go home to parents to be washed. All bibs, all clothes, everything that happens at daycare needs to go home to be washed. We're not going to wash sleeping bags anymore. We're going to send those home periodically to be washed. So we shouldn't be doing any laundry at daycare besides like the jumperoo seats and the swing seats and all that. So just keep that in mind. So items to go home, we just discussed. Injuries, important notes, same thing. Meds, my boys get inhalers, so that's a spot you can put inhaler times that they were given. And important notes, they fell and scratched their knee, they bumped their arm, whatever. And then down below, I know we have a good ed time program at daycare 2. So this is where we'll put the weekly theme, like it's farm week. Okay, you put that there. And then whatever you're doing in the art room, in the sensory bins, in the dramatic play areas, those will go there and be checked saying, yes, they went to the dramatic play area and they played house or what, I don't know, whatever they played there. Tents, I think my boys said the other day. And then same kind of idea with circle time. So this box to the left is just during that time. So during circle time, they were excited, they were reserved, they sat nicely, or they needed reminders. This one we can be a little more strict about because these kids are about to go to our preschool and they should be able to sit nicely. However, if this is a new kid, obviously they're going to need a few more reminders. If this is a young kid, they're going to need more reminders. So just be cautious about how you use those check boxes. And then the box to the middle is free choice play. So you're going to use, it's similar options in the free choice play and the group play, but different times. So in free choice, obviously you're going to check what they did in that middle box, and group play, you're going to check what they did there. So I think, oh, and the book, obviously, I think you guys read a book during circle time. So just making sure you do that at least once a day. This is another one where like we had a new friend join and he wasn't really into like playing with others yet. So it's okay for him to just have played independently checked. He doesn't need to have played with friends. Like you don't need to like seek that out for him, I guess is what I'm saying. So like if he walks by a friend and is like, hey, you don't have to be like, oh, played with friend. No, it's if he played independently all day, he played independently all day. Maybe he was happy to do so. So I'm hoping these are going to be easier to do and less fill-in. Like daycare 2 is obviously going to have quite a few fill-ins. However, I think you can make copies for those. So let's give these a try and see how they go. And then if you guys have any questions, reach out to me on Homebase, or you can text me or call me. I'll put my number. However I get this video to you, I'll put my number there so you guys can text me if you have questions, and I'll be in touch about ed time. So I hope this is helpful, and I will talk to you guys whenever we touch base about ed time and all the other things. All right, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it, and that's all I've got. Thanks.